We're a family-friendly podcast.
Bottom Dean is friendly, is he not?
Hello and welcome back to Super Hell, aka the Mystery Spotcast, a show where two recovering Supernatural fans subject themselves to a rewatch so no one else ever has to watch Supernatural again. I'm Klaudia, my pronouns are she, her, and you can find me on social media at Klaudia Says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A Says. I'm Ollie, I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh, that's fresh with a PH. And we have a very, very special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I suppose I would. Hi, I'm Berklie Novak-Stolz. My pronouns are she, they. And you can find me all over the internet as IcarusPendragon. That's Icarus like the myth, and Pendragon like BBC's Merlin.
Straight out the gate with a Merlin reference. Yeah, just so you know what kind of level we're on. Today we are going to be talking about the Winchesters. As a lot of you, I'm sure, know, it just had its season finale, season 1. And we have a lot of things we would like to say. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our guest, Berklie, who's here today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, who you are and your experience with Supernatural and that kind of stuff?
Okay, so I did accidentally get popular on TikTok, like September of 2021, because I made a joke about explaining the Omegaverse to my mom, and that kind of just like blew up. And so now I am on the internet just explaining fandom culture, fanfic, the like, because I have been a part of fandom or online fandom spaces for the past like decade. So I was a super Hulockian. That was my introduction to Supernatural. I was gonna say unfortunately, but perspective, you know.
Yeah,
so
we have a lot of that on this podcast. So a lot of that, like, you know what? I just need to put things into perspective. So I feel that.
Yeah, it's like I saw one too many gift sets of Misha Collins in 2013, and I was like, man, let me see what all this is about. And now here I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The impact of Misha Collins.
The impact of Misha Collins on me personally.
I love that. I love what has he done to us as a society. The Misha apocalypse truly never ends.
No, it didn't for me.
Yeah, and we have a Supernatural podcast, so clearly it didn't for us either.
Oh, I did just release a poetry collection. It's a bestseller on Amazon, so that's a little weird and wacky. It does heavily feature themes from hit CW show Supernatural, but what can you do?
Yeah, I'm very excited to read it. I have it ordered. It is not here yet, but I am looking forward to it. Yeah, I had another sort of question I wanted to ask you. As we know, there was a very historic day for a lot of Supernatural fans, and that was November 5th, 2020. I think a lot of us sort of remember where we were when that happened. Like, I know, for example, I was still living at home with my parents at the time, and I remember being upstairs in my room, frustrated about the election. And then I saw what had happened. And I remember desperately trying to explain to my cusp boomer father about why I was in such a tizzy. Do you have a November 5th story?
Yeah, so I was out of the fandom at the time, actually. When I graduated high school and went to college, which was in 2015, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be the weird one for once. I'm going to like leave fandom and fanfic behind, and I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to be cool. And I was wrong. But so I was like out of the fandom at the time, but I was still on Tumblr, and it was like 3:30 a.m. the following morning, right? So it was November 6th at this point, and I was up getting ready to go to work, and I checked Tumblr for election news first because I figured if it was going to be bad, at least it would be funny. And the first thing I saw was everything surrounding just the Destiel that wasn't. And there was a video of me laying on the floor in this room because it literally floored me because I was like so confused, and I had just woken up 3:30 a.m. and I was like, I don't know what's happening. He's gay, but he isn't, and he super hell. And I was like so flabbergasted, and somehow that wasn't enough to pull me back into the fandom. Like, I appreciated the jokes, but I do just very distinctly remember laying on the floor in here and being like, did love win?
Love wins? Question mark?
Love
No,
wins? Question mark? Biden
I have
does, but like, does love?
Is love
does what is Joe Biden's plan for Destiel? That's something that we're this far into his presidency, he has not addressed it in the State of the Union.
Jesen
Unacceptable.
Ackles had to take it into his own hands because Joe Biden would not address it.
Yeah, this is what privatization looks like.
Jesen Ackles' production company is providing healthcare.
No, I was very similar. I also was not in the Supernatural fandom. I had not watched it in a hot minute when that happened, and then I was like, well, I guess it's time for me to return.
Many people know my story, which involved I wasn't in the I was still watching, but I wasn't like in the fandom. I had a friend who worked on the show, and I decided to keep at it for her, and I discussed the sunk cost fallacy before. I was like, I will be in it to the end. I just want to know what happens. And I also was like, if they ever do Destiel, then I'll know what's happening. And I didn't know that. I thought that as a joke, and then it was real. So I was one of the few people on Tumblr who knew what the fuck was going on. It was actually, I was mad they was actually spoiled for me because like they don't put the episodes on the CW website until the next day. And I was like, and how am I supposed to watch it? There's no place to pirate it right now. I'm refreshing, I'm clicking, and then I see texts from my friend who worked on the show, cryptic texts from her, and I'm like, is that what you meant? Is that what you fucking meant? I was also working the election. I used to work in the news, and I was working the election, so my mental state was in a place you cannot imagine. I've
Not great.
It was. But the
you could say you were in your flop era in a lot of ways. I was in my
flop era, but the universal thing here amongst all of our stories was that like we went on Tumblr for news, first of all.
Which says a lot about the people who are here on this podcast. But I think, and you know what? I'm willing to bet we are representation for a silent majority.
but now, because of November 5th, 2020, people go on Tumblr for news because they're like, I gotta find out the news via Destiel meme. So.
No, it is sickening the amount of things that I have found out, like world news things that I have found out via the I love you, and then some insane fact.
And it's me. I'm doing it.
No, I know, and I appreciate it. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, I trust you more than like any major media reporter.
The Associated Press has nothing on a Destiel meme. They've got nothing. Like, oh, the New York Times, the CNN breaking news alerts. I don't believe it until I see it in a fucking Destiel meme.
I'm happy we're all on the same page.
So we have discussed the Winchesters before on this podcast, and we started out with being like, we're not going to have much to say. At first, we were like, oh, I don't even think I'm going to watch it. And then we were like, oh, I'm just going to watch the pilot, like, as a joke. And then we were like, oh, maybe I will watch more. And then we had genuine things to say. And then we had to take time out of our season 2 rewatch to discuss the Winchesters. So now we are dedicating a whole episode to the Winchesters. If you are one of our listeners who does not know anything about Supernatural and you're just taking it from our what we're saying, I apologize if you don't understand what the fuck is about to happen. God
bless you though for listening this far.
Yeah. This one's for the deep cut, I fear.
Yeah.
But I guess we're gonna have not a serious discussion about the Winchesters, but like,
well, I mean, it's like an actual real discussion about the Winchesters. So normally we say watch Supernatural at your own risk. That's up to you. It will affect you. Watch the Winchesters. It's pretty good. Like it's a fun show. Fun. Like, so, but we are going to be talking about spoilers, obviously. So if you haven't seen it and you care about spoilers or you want to understand what we're saying, maybe go and watch those 13 episodes and then come back here.
The way we've been absolutely fucking terrible about spoilers on this podcast.
Yeah, we're like the first episode. We're like, okay, so we're going to talk about episode 1. Remember when Dean got stabbed by a nail? That was crazy. Anyway. No.
But I just want to start with, what was your vibe? And we'll start with Berklie. What was your vibe when they announced the Winchesters prequel? Where were you? What were your thoughts? What was your initial reaction?
I can tell you exactly where I was. So you have to keep in mind that, like I said, I was out of the fandom. I didn't get back into it until around this time last year. And so I was, God, what was it? It was May 19th. It was the day the trailer dropped. I didn't know about it before then. And I had, we were pretty deep into the Misha Apocalypse 2.0 at that point. And so I was at work. I posted a tweet of me just standing there, like the standing guy emoji. It's just a picture of me. And I was like, what have you done to create meaningful chaos today? And somebody responded something about how Jesen Ackles had. And I was like, what did that man do? He doesn't post anything anywhere ever. And so I like fly to all of his socials. Nothing's there naturally. And I start doing some like further investigating, and I find out, for one, about the prequel, and for two, the trailer, and three, the like half a second of Cass being in the trailer from Lazarus Rising. And I like had I wouldn't call it a breakdown, but it was akin to that while I was at work, and my boss was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know if I'm going to put my best friend Cass like back on my screen." And that was like, immediately I like clowned myself, put on the shoes, put on the jester hat, like started painting my face. I was ready to
Just
go.
like John.
And
Just like John Winchester.
yeah, there have been several times while watching this show where I've been like, am I John coded? Which has been something.
No, that's
That's
dark. It's a dark reality when you can relate to John Winchester. That's something we'll talk about later.
But yeah, I just remember losing my mind about it at work. And just being, like I said, just really, really pumped about it from the get-go, because I'd been away from the fandom so long that I didn't know that this was something that was in the works until the trailer dropped.
I am obsessed with that. I think that we, like, it was like right after we had started doing the Mysteries podcast. It was either right after. No, I think it was right after that it got announced. So I remember being like, okay, I don't know a whole lot about this, but the drama, the Et tu Brute tweet, that was, I remember being like, that was like a formative memory.
It was like November 5th 2.0 for me, because that was one of the funniest moments on Twitter of all time.
Now that I do remember.
It was just knowing that Sam Winchester won't be involved. Like, I think of it, and he wasn't.
Berklie, would you like to explain to our listeners the Et tu Brute? Because they may not know what that is.
Okay, so essentially, Jesen Ackles has Dean Winchester disease like the rest of us. And as
stay strong, brother, there's no cure.
There is no cure. And so he decided to be a little silly, a little goofy, and do a prequel for Supernatural featuring himself as Dean Winchester and his parents, John Winchester and Mary Campbell. And it was announced online that this was a show that was happening. And Jared Padalecki, who was his co-star for 15 years and brother on the show, was unaware that the show was a thing. And so when he discovered its existence, he wasn't exactly the most thrilled for his co-star, Jesen Ackles, along with former showrunner Robbie. He wasn't super thrilled about his involvement either. And so there were some tweets, some quote tweets. And I can't remember even who he was quote tweeting, but it was just Jared Padalecki saying Et tu Brute over the fact that his involvement in the Winchesters and Padalecki not knowing about it.
The Et tu Brute was to Robbie Thomas. He did basically quote tweet Jesen Ackles, and he was like, dude, happy for you. Wish I would have known about it. And then he was like, enjoy the show knowing that Sam Winchester had no input whatsoever. And it was like top 10 tweets that should have been a text message.
But I'm so glad they weren't, because my God, it was fun. The memes on TikTok immediately, when every single person did the you were my brother Anakin immediately with it. Or
I no, because I like a world where where in some strange universe between Obi-Wan and Anakin, Jared Padalecki is Obi-Wan. In what world is that happening?
no, he's Anakin.
No, he's the one who's like, you are my brother. I trusted you.
You're saying,
And then
you're saying
this is a very drawn out, just
making the Winchesters is the equivalent of becoming a Sith Lord. Is that what you're saying?
You know what? I feel like this is like entrapment somehow. I would like to plead the fifth.
Can I offer you an out?
I would love nothing. I would love nothing more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's only like tangentially related, but what are podcasts if not just tangents? So I went to so I've been to a few Supernatural conventions in the past 8 months, and it was the one I went to in December, and I was walking back from the bathroom, and walking into the bathroom was one Jesen Ackles. And I was like, hello. And he was like, hey, what's up? And because I just finished his meet and greet. And so we confirmed that we were still good to go to prison together later, which was, it was just an inside joke between me and Jesen, no big deal. And then right behind Jesen is Jared Padalecki. And there's nothing, I don't want to say worse, but it was definitely a bit of a jump scare because it's like I wasn't expecting to see a 6'4" Jared Padalecki rounding the corner. And so we make eye contact. He does the friendly like smile and like nod thing. And I, in a panic, because my first thought was to say go piss girl, just immediately break eye contact and look down at the ground and just keep on walking by.
If you had said
I
go
love
piss
that.
girl to Jared
I feel like he needs someone to say that to him, honestly. I think it would fix whatever's going on in his little brain.
Anyway, that's my only experience with Jared Padalecki. When I accidentally snubbed him.
You know what? So true. I wish I could say that we've all been there, but I fear that might be a you problem.
I mean, you guys say recovering Supernatural fans. I'm not recovered. I'm in active addiction.
Back in the shits. Yeah. You're back in the shits.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Recovery is a strong term. We're working on it, but we are like rewatching it, and I will say watching the Winchesters has made me be like, oh, I actually like enjoy watching Supernatural now. Which is really, and I'm also like, we're watching the early seasons where it's like so good. And
that's
I'm like,
all I do. You guys know I haven't finished the show, right?
Wait.
I also haven't finished the show.
I'm the only one here who has finished the show.
Oh, shit. This is so, wait, okay.
I watched that bad wig in real time, girlies. I watched that bad wig in real
the blurry wife.
The blurry wife. And here's the thing. Oh, my partner has also never seen Supernatural. And however, when the last season was airing, it was just COVID time, whatever. So I would watch it, and my partner would do the dad thing of like walking in the room and like standing there and watching in the corner. But like
hands on hips, yeah.
Yeah, the last like 15 episodes of the season, before it dropped off in the finale, were actually quite decent. So Claire would walk in the room and be like, oh wait, now I kind of want to watch this. And I would like explain things that were happening to them. And then I was like, and they were like, because they love early 2000s procedural television. They're a House MD person. They're a Grey's Anatomy person, whatever. So they were down to clown. And they were like, am I going to have to watch Supernatural from the beginning? And I was like, oh my God. Like they were ready to watch the whole show. This is before we started our podcast. This was anything, my partner, whatever. And the second to last episode is quite good. You're like, damn, all right, stick the landing. And then the finale came and my partner was like, yeah, you know what? I won't be watching all Supernatural. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm glad that it warned you away because we were on the precipice of something very dangerous.
That you're now doing with me instead of with your partner. I'm honored that I could shoulder this so Claire doesn't have to.
They still walk in sometimes and we'll watch and they'll be like, damn, this is kind of fun. I'm like, no, don't. No.
Okay, this does beg the question, how far into Supernatural have you seen?
So remember that bit about me setting aside my childish things to go to college in 2015? So it was season 10 was airing.
Shut up. That's like exactly when I stopped watching as well. That's so
You
crazy.
guys weren't even there when Mary comes back and is a MILF.
No, but
no.
I got up to 8-1 on my rewatch before something broke in my brain and was like, nope, start out all over again. So I did. So I am intimately familiar with the first 4 seasons.
As God intended, I think.
I'm obsessed with that. As God, Eric Kripke intended.
The reveal of this lore that you guys both have not finished Supernatural is so fascinating. And I feel like we're probably going to get back to this a lot when we're talking about the Winchesters, but like that does encapsulate the Supernatural experience, which is, have I finished it? Do I know everything about it? Do I like it? Who can say?
Yeah. And I think, I feel like if you have finished Supernatural, that's just because you're a freak. Like, that's on you.
I'm sending that to the group chat, actually. I'm going to quote you on that and send that to my, it's called the Jesen Ackles Disease Support Group. It's going to them.
Yeah.
Is Jesen Ackles in it?
I'm so happy.
Not yet, but he will be. Mark my words.
Who contacted his people. Because you know what? If anyone needs to be in like a Dean Winchester, Jesen Ackles type support group, it's Jesen Ackles, which I think he has put that emotional labor onto the cast of the Winchesters. Because like he had a birthday party for Dean, which I thought is very slay. But I'm like, you have an attachment, sir.
And you know what?
There's something going on and I'm obsessed with it.
I have to say, like, sometimes there are actors, whatever, who like they play a character that's really iconic and then they have to like go to conventions for it forever and they kind of have like a love-hate relationship, whatever. And I feel like because he's been in the shits with that for such a long time, he's embraced it in a way that other celebrities don't. Like, because some are like, this is kind of sad, move on. And then some of them you're like, and I'm like, but like for him, like he couldn't move. Like he was actively still doing the show for like a while. Like, and he's like, no, I'm embracing it fully. And there's something very powerful in that.
And there's something very recent too about it, because I remember like back in when I was really deep in the shits, when I was like at my most unmedicated watching Supernatural, I remember his like convention like question answers would sometimes, and his like, and everyone's, this is not like a Jensen problem, his answers would be so like demoralizing. But I feel like recently he's been very like, yeah, you know what, I'm a bit more open to talk about it. I'm more like, and given it's been like 10 years since then, but it's just been really interesting to see his progression of being like what kind of questions he is answering and how much energy he has put out and like the type of energy he has.
I'm sure that also has to do with whoever was in charge or whatever the fuck was going on the show at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so we talked about where we were when it was announced. I want to get a brief survey for you. We'll start with you, Berklie. When you found out that find out that there's a prequel, then we find out it's about John and Mary. Obviously, there are a lot of divisive opinions. What were your thoughts? What were your opinions? What were your fears? What what were you hoping for like before it came out?
So I think here's the thing is that like I'm a girly that's gonna go into situations with zero expectations, because if I have expectations, then I get my feelings hurt. Like I take the same. So like that's my approach with Waffle House. I take that Waffle House approach with everything. If I don't have expectations, then I can't be disappointed. I am working on that in therapy. But so going into the show, well, my only expectation was that I was eventually going to see my best friend Cass, just based on that, half-second clip from the barn scene in Lazarus Rising. But that was my, only expectation.
You could be, a third host of this podcast, honestly, full-time, because that was our delusion as well. So I'm happy we were all on the same page.
It got so dark at one point when I was, digging into conspiracy tweets and shit about it, and I was like, because Destiel, Misha Collins's reaction to the prequel being announced was also ooh, a time traveling angel, and I was like, oh, the truth is out there.
No, Klaudia would text me Tumblr posts from years ago and old tweets, and I really did feel like it was the Pepe Sylvia picture from It's Always Sunny where Charlie has the board with all the red string, but the problem is it's if there were two of them and they were facing each other and they were both working on the board together, that was kind of what it felt like.
This dark. I mean, I like what you said about how like I try not to go into things with expectations because then that's how I feel about Star Wars all the time, and that's how we talk about Star Wars on Roof House a lot of times. With the Winchesters, I didn't even at first I didn't even want to watch it. At first, I was like, John and Mary. I was like, oh, Justice for Wayward Sisters. What the fuck is this? And then I talked to some people, and then whatever, and they were like, oh, well, it's Jesen Ackles producing it, and there's gonna be some things. And I was like, sure, Jan. Okay, the Riverdale-ification of Supernatural, even though Supernatural walked so that Riverdale could run, obviously. But like, I was like, really? And I remember watching the trailer and being like, it's giving Riverdale. It's giving Vampire Diaries. Not in my Supernatural.
No, because also the trailer was so like at the time I didn't think it was camp, but now I'm like it was
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
camp low key. Like, but I remember at the time being like, oh no, oh god, who are the? I was like, this is something that before the show came out, I was like, I really hope that they have a better grasp of who their audience is than a lot of Supernatural did. And after watching it, I'm like, yeah, they did. They knew who was going to be tuning
After
in.
watching it, I felt very much like Jesen Ackles understood that freaky gay people on the internet are paying his bills. And you know what? Good for him.
And then he said, hey, y'all ever heard of Carlos? And then we all clapped and we all cheered.
Listen, I had the opportunity to meet JoJo this past weekend. For one, they are phenomenal. Like I impulse bought a photo op when I got to the con in Atlanta. And I walk up to them and they're even more beautiful in person. And I was like, hello, how are you? And they stop and they go, wait, I know you. And I was like, "Scusi?" And they said, "Yeah, you're on TikTok, aren't you? Like you post about the show and you do the reactions and they're so funny and we all love them." And I said,
Oh,
"I'm
I
wow.
would
being
pass on.
perceived?"
Wow.
Maine?
Oh.
That is, oh,
Jump
wow.
scare.
I feel like you're so much stronger than I am because if I was living your life, like I don't even know what I would have done in that situation.
Yeah,
That's wow.
yeah, because on
That's awesome.
Thursday I got that autographed poster from everybody that showed up in the finale. Their autograph is on that poster. It was sent to me by the Winchesters. Like, I wish that I wasn't, like, this in the trenches. Like, if I could be normal about something.
Wow, you're just like
Anything.
Dean Winchester for real.
Dean coded, Dean devoted. I have severe daddy issues. That is a sticker I have on the back of my car.
Oh, I also have a Supernatural sticker on the back of my car that says driver picks the music, shotgun shuts his cake hole that I only put on because Klaudia sent it to me as a joke thinking I wouldn't do it. And I'm nothing if not someone who commits to the bit, so
right.
I feel that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, the back of my
No.
Subaru is covered in Supernatural stickers.
As a Subaru should be, to be fair.
Which my favorite one
Yeah.
is it says I write fanfic where Dean Winchester goes to therapy and there's nothing Eric Kripke can do to stop me.
That's powerful.
So, how does everyone feel like while we were watching the show? I'm sure everyone had a very interesting experience. I know I was very surprised because the pilot episode was very much a pilot episode where like it had its issues and it clearly got sort of straightened out as the cast got more comfortable, as the writers got more comfortable with the characters, etc. So I remember being very pleasantly surprised after watching that first episode and like watching the second episode and subsequent episodes. So like what is everyone's thoughts about the show and like enjoying it as it was coming out?
I did cry the pilot episode when a certain man's voice was heard over my TV speakers. The tears immediately started. Like I got chills. I like that's how bad it is for me. I got chills and the end of that pilot episode where, he's in super heaven with his car for whatever reason.
Super heavy.
Super heaven.
Oh no. Yeah.
I started sobbing. Like I've kind of been through it this past year, and so seeing an aged and happy Dean Winchester on my screen, I just started crying. And then like 60,000 people on the internet saw that. So I was like, great, awesome. you know, like, people have seen me cry over less or more depending on how you wanna look at it. Um, but I was, like, just I was just happy. I was like that like, I specifically got Hulu Live so I could watch it live because I hadn't been watching live TV since, like, 2015, and every week my friends would come over and we would have dinner and we would watch it and we would yell at the screen, and it was just really nice to have, like, that, like, part of, like, high school me back where I got to, you know, like, live tweet about a show or live blog about a show, and it was just, like, it felt nostalgic while being completely new. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And, like, it was campy, but, like, you know what? We deserve a little lighthearted camp every now and again, especially after what Supernatural put us through.
I love that. I agree 100%. I know, I think for the first episode of the Winchesters, Klaudia and I were actually
Oh, you're
together
right. We watched it in the same room.
because we live in different states, so we live #far away from each other. Um, but we watched it together, and there were so many points in the show where we were like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't line up with canon. I don't really." And then Dean shows up, and we're both like, "Everybody, shut up! Everybody, shut
Also, Ollie's partner Mel was also in the room, knows nothing about Supernatural, and was like, "What the fuck?" The whole time we were like, "The Men of Letters," and Mel's sitting there like, "Huh?"
Yeah, especially considering they listen to this show, but we are nowhere near that. So it was just so funny. But I also remember a fun thing about watching this show is because streaming has made everything like less places are doing it now, but like when everything used to release like as a season at a time or a block of episodes at a time, or even like it would come out on streaming and then people would kind of watch it whenever they got the chance to watch it. It's really fun watching something that's on like broadcast television that everyone is watching at the same time so you can see people's like live reactions. And again, it did like give me kind of a little flashback to when I was in high school and I was posting my reactions to Supernatural on Tumblr live. So it really was like it feels very nostalgic in that way. I agree 100%.
When the finale aired, both me and Ollie, we were kind of mad that we didn't have live TV because we were like, "Wait, people are saying things." I was like, "I got Dean Winchester is trending at number 3 in the United States, and the people got live reaction. I gotta dodge spoilers for Supernatural." I was sad. I was like, "Oh man," I was like, "I wish me and Ollie had been able to watch it."
Claudia, it's not Supernatural, it's the
Sorry.
Winchesters. Come on. Be a professional, please. Um, yeah, something else I also really liked about it is that, like, we were constantly getting, like, lore that I kept thinking, like, throughout the show, I was like, now how are they gonna explain this in Supernatural canon? And then at one point, I remember being like, if this is an alternate universe, first of all, getting all this new lore about, like, the Men of Letters and all that stuff is really fun. I'm excited now to watch the Supernatural episodes that, honestly, in terms of, like, everything, were some of the more weak episodes and some of the more weak seasons that dealt with the Men of Letters and with a lot of this kind of stuff. I was like actually excited to watch those because I'm like, oh, now there's this lore. I can kind of contextualize it. It'll make it a little bit more engaging for me to watch. And then also I was like, okay. And now I realize this is an alternate universe. It's anybody's game. Like anything can happen. So it was such like a fun experience that I have not had in a very long time.
I can't remember which episode it was where when we were like, "Wait, is he going back?" Oh, it's the one where it was the one that aired on Dean Winchester's birthday where Jesen Ackles had the birthday party and then it was revealed that Dean is in it when they were like, "Oh, who's in the picture?" Dean! Oh my god. When that one aired, that was when I was delusional. I was feeling emotions. For background of me, I was into Super Hulock in high school, but like Supernatural was the last one, so I didn't get into Supernatural until I started college. Please imagine starting college in the year 2012, watching Supernatural for the first time. People were meeting me for the first time, and I was in the dorm common room watching season 7 of Supernatural. This is their first impression of me. Was watching Dean. What is it? The fucking.
That was the Leviathan season,
like,
I think. Was that season 7? Yeah.
One of the worst, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Given I haven't seen all of it, so
no.
Purgatory seasons. Destiel is the way for people met me for the first time. Okay, It was
Wow.
very dark, but like I hadn't been to that place mentally. I mean, obviously November 5th, yeah, but I really hadn't been to that place mentally of like, oh my god, like Supernatural's become my life. I'm listening to AC/DC. There's something happening to me since college, and then I was thrown back to that place and they were like, oh, it's Dean, whatever, and I was like, because at first we thought it was time travel, because time travel has happened so many times in Supernatural, and that was when I entered my delusional era of like, and the first time he time travels, other than the mystery spot,
With Cass.
with Cass in
With
the third
my best
episode,
friend Cass.
with my best friend Destiel.
I felt like that was that. I feel like it's like a Jeopardy answer. Like, this was the first person Dean Winchester time traveled with. Who is Castiel?
Season 4, episode 3 in the beginning, which I did watch twice earlier today.
So true.
But aren't the text messages between me and Ollie when that episode of the Winchesters aired were incomprehensible? Like,
we called each other. I go to school. I'm doing a master's right now, about like an hour-ish away from my home. And I remember it happened whilst I was in class. I exit class. I immediately get on the phone with Klaudia and we talk for my entire drive home, being like, what does this mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean? I was like, so if you're telling me then this means and then that, and then I just kept repeating in my head and being like,
it was spiraling. It was like the definition of spiraling.
I was like, this means that Dean goes back in time and makes sure that his parents get therapy, and then he may be decanonizing Supernatural because he's decanonizing Supernatural. He's decanonizing Destiel because if he's never born, then Destiel can't happen. This is a question I have for Berklie. If this was time travel and not an alternate universe, and he had decanonized Supernatural, actually in an alternate universe too, because they would find each other in every universe. So true.
Absolutely.
If he went back in time and made sure his father got therapy and addressed why his grandfather left, and that his parents addressed their issues and killed the yellow-eyed demon and all these things, if he went back in time and then prevented himself from being born, or just prevented them from being hunters, and that meant that he never met Castiel, would that be homophobic of Jesen Ackles?
Yes.
I'm happy that you had an answer. I love that Klaudia is like, let's get someone on our podcast and trap them in a gotcha question. But you had the correct answer, so I'm happy to hear
one
that.
could argue either side, right? Because on one side you're like, letting Dean Winchester, an icon of the LGBT community, be happy, that's supporting gay rights. But also decanonizing Destiel, that's
gay
also
wrongs.
That's gay wrongs. That's homophobic. Yeah, so once again,
you know what? You know how he could fix this? John kisses a man next season.
John and Carlos.
No. That episode,
now we're on to something. Polycule.
The episode
where Winchester's polycule. Have we thought about that?
I have.
Every day.
Extensively.
I'm happy we are all again on the same page.
The episode where the two of them are in uniform and Millie Winchester looks at John and goes, I know what you are.
No, listen, I know this John who's in his deconstruction era where he's like, I'm actually learning how to like not be angry all the time and I'm leaning on support systems. He's in touch with himself a little more. I'm just saying.
This is the late 60s, we are entering the 70s, right?
Yeah, it's this beginning of the 70s. It's 1972
it's 1972.
Show. It's the
he's
future.
Hanging out with this time around, he's hanging out with gay people and hippies. So,
yeah, I'm just saying. Here, listen.
Wait, is it still homophobic if Dean Winchester is never born because John and Mary don't get married because Dean is with a man? Because John is with a man.
Well,
I believe Mary would be more than happy to be a surrogate.
Interesting.
And they would
so true
triple parent.
So interesting.
I do like I have just had this idea of Dean and Sam are born, but and they're still Dean and Sam Winchester because they're still born to a Winchester, but like Carlos is one of their dads and Lata is one of their moms, and it's
I'm
like
a pure
they're
delusion
just like in this
enjoyer.
polycule. It's
Their
like
parents are weird
there's
70s
just
swingers.
We're talking found family to the max.
do we want to talk about like what we thought about the finale of the
Oh,
show?
man.
Because I think like as a finale, and also because we don't know if we're getting season 2.
I've made it my mission. I will use and abuse, mind you, every ounce of whatever power I have by having a large online following to get season 2 of the Winchesters. I will exploit myself for Jesen Ackles.
And also,
I love
it's not
that.
just for Jesen Ackles, because I just want to say, Ada, you are so slay. We will talk about her a little bit. You are so slay. And them introducing Rowena, first of all, them introducing every character in the book except for Destiel felt a little homophobic. But then for them to put Rowena in there and for her to be like, here's a slay witch who's Rowena's like, I'm here to recruit you to the Avengers Initiative. But also we both have fucked up little sons who, whatever, they're so similar. And I would watch a whole spinoff of just like Rowena's little witch coven with Ada. Maybe they kiss on the mouth. Who knows? Like, who knows?
You're so right. Wait. Hang on.
They're
I didn't
both
think about
MILFs.
this.
And they kiss on the mouth. And why would they need to help the Winchesters anymore? Fuck them.
Hear me out on this.
Yeah.
We're talking MILFs.
Yeah, season 2 is the Winchesters 2 MILFs Boogaloo.
Yeah, we bring Millie Winchester. It's so almost in the name.
True.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah. MILFie.
The Winchester in the name is actually Millie. And she is, it's the 70s. She's fucking women, you know?
Yeah, she's a single woman.
Yeah.
Come on. No,
let her have a hot girl
do
summer.
like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. After all the bullshit that her son put her through,
and
she
her
deserves
stupid
it.
ass husband.
Mm-hmm. Boo. I like how it's like, oh my gosh, he got killed. I'm like, he's still left.
Yeah,
guys.
fucker. There's a new Winchester father that I need to hate.
Yeah, Henry Winchester, this is your fault. I can just pass the buck.
Very early on in this show, I was like, does anybody have a dad who sticks around? Like the real monster they were facing on hit CW show Supernatural and CW Supernatural prequel The Winchesters was daddy issues. Like, had any of them gone to therapy consistently, other than Carlos, I love you, Carlos, at any point, all of their problems would have been resolved, I feel like. The real monster was absent fathers.
And
then is fatherless behavior is the real monster.
Well, and also motherless behavior, because the mommy issues, they were there too. But also, I will say this. The fact that John is like, you know what? Maybe I need to go to therapy or something. And
the
then
way I cheered.
And then 5 minutes later, he was like, yeah, actually, no, fuck that. And you're like, uh-oh, I fear that in this universe that the chance for Dean Winchester's happiness is dwindling once again.
No, there's no way Sam and Dean are being born in this universe, right? Like, maybe they are, but like not in this, like, I feel like they're gonna be born like 10 years earlier.
Oh, that's dark. That's very dark.
Anyway, but I think like the finale of the show was really interesting because for someone as like a Supernatural fan, I was screaming, cheering, jumping up off my couch. But I feel bad. Here's the thing. This is something my partner said to me. I was like, I feel bad for anyone who's just a fan of the Winchesters and like hasn't really watched Supernatural. And they were like, realistically, who do you think is watching the Winchesters who hasn't seen Supernatural? And I was like, that is a really great question. That is a really great question.
It's not like The Mandalorian. Like it's not. It's not. I fear. It is, well, we said this before. It is the Clone Wars of Supernatural, not The Mandalorian. In that it is literally like, let's take the parts of Supernatural that were crappy and make them good through episodic television retroactively. And we did that. It's still a little rocky in some places and a little camp, and we did that. You will have to know things about this universe to get it and to understand and to rock with it, but it will be a jam. Also, the Anakin Skywalkerification of John Winchester is so, yeah.
Anyway, do we want to talk a little bit? We were in the middle of kind of talking about the finale and our thoughts about it. If anyone would like to share any specific thoughts they had during the finale and anything?
Dean Winchester, that turtleneck was really gay of you.
I I loved it. I didn't even like. I saw after everybody was like, that wasn't even Dean. That was just like Jensen, which like one and the same, honestly. But I'm a turtleneck enjoyer. Why lie? So I saw that little turtleneck and his little pea coat, and I was like, good for him. Like that, it looked like he's well adjusted now. That was my thought. I was so
And
excited to see the turtleneck.
And something too is that something we know about Dean, he loves an opportunity to dress up. I think sometimes his toxic masculinity, like that he has a lot of, especially in the beginning, kind of gets in the way of his desire to wear a fun little outfit. But I think a lot about, especially in, God forbid I talk about this episode, I can't believe I'm evoking it, but in the episode Bugs, when he's trying out that shower and he has like his hair wrapped up in a towel and he's wearing the robe, like that was what this was making me think of. I was like, this is that Dean who's like, I don't have anyone to prove myself to. I'm going back in time to the 70s. I'm going to wear a silly little outfit.
Dean Winchester, he commits to the bit and he loves a silly little outfit. Just think of Frontierland or Tombstone.
That was my other thought exactly. I'm like, he was so excited to be doing that, to be like have a little cowboy moment.
When he was a PA, and he was like, I love committing to a bit. When he dressed up as a priest, yeah,
yeah,
like the priest. You know, I'm Catholic, so that we're gonna breeze past.
How does it feel to enjoy a show that's basically just fan fiction of the Bible, of your religious text?
Feels good, man. I'm contributing to it significantly. Actually, it's
like Dante's Inferno, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Supernatural, the big three of Bible fan fiction.
You forgot about Good Omens.
Sorry.
Boo! Everyone, boo at Klaudia. Boo. Anyway, no, I loved that. Something else I really loved about the finale. I loved like getting to see these characters be like, okay. I feel like this is something about all shows, is that pacing is just weird, but I feel like there was so much in this finale. And I was like, I actually really liked it because I like when there's a lot of stuff happening, because shockingly, sometimes I have trouble focusing if there's not enough to catch my attention. So I love that they were like, it is one thing after another. This is Joan. She's fucked up and evil.
She's like evil Dean.
Very sexy is the problem.
Like, if Dean became fucked up, which he did for like a little bit, but like more fucked up. It's like if Timothy Oliphant was not there to help. If Timothy Oliphant wasn't there to be like, hey, yeah, I know I became Cain because I killed my brother, but when my wife died,
that's when I was
just like Destiel.
No, if Joan had the mark of Cain, then we'd be having a very different conversation. She's so powerful. But I have feelings for you. Please contact me. Joan decanonized Abaddon. That shit was crazy. No, that was fucking insane. I don't know how much you know about like the Abaddon. What fucking season was that?
I've seen Lily Sunder has some regrets, so I have some idea, but not a lot.
TLDR, in Supernatural, Abaddon was like, fuck the American men of letters. I'm gonna kill them all. She does an Order 66 on them. It's very funny. Yeah. But so I remember watching the Winchesters being like, they keep thinking it's the Akrita. When is it going to be revealed that it was someone else? And then they were like, actually, it was the Akrita. Fuck you. It was very crazy. That was like the first, like, real decanonization where I was like, oh snap, they really fudged the lore there. Like, you know what? MCU who? Because this is my multiverse of madness.
I literally said that in the middle of the episode. I was like, this is my multiverse of madness. It was everything to me.
Also, Latha just being like, oh, like the multiverse. I'm like, have you guys talked about the multiverse? Like, what is that? Is the multiverse theory really a huge thing?
I love her.
Have they talked about it? Ugh. She is like the best, and Nita is such a good actress too.
I was like, she deserves an Emmy after this. And my friend Maddie was like, the CW doesn't give Emmys. And I was like, well, then I'm going to give her an Emmy. And my friend Izzy was like, well, I'm going to give her a kiss. And I was like, yeah, I'll give her a kiss on the cheek too.
But I mean, too good for this show. She is. She was. They were like, yeah, we're gonna have these little new characters. They're gonna have the most fucked up backstory ever.
And I loved it.
I was like, damn.
No, she was on like the biggest struggle bus this entire season, and especially in these last like 3 episodes where she was like, I'm stuck in this fucked up evil bracelet, and now I'm also possessed. I was like, girl, it is so dark for you.
They were like, a woman in Supernatural, yeah, she's gonna get put through it, and you're like, damn, bitch.
But at least she lived.
Yeah. She did live. Let's be so excited.
Also, I made an observation. Did they use a gun minus the like water gun full of holy water from like the first episode? Did anybody use an actual firearm?
I don't know. Because I remember in the last scene, like where John, Samuel, and Carlos go to fight
With
the Akrita, how they all have swords, and I was like, did we not have any like silver bullets from hanging out with like you're gonna tell me the Menelaers have never hunted a werewolf
because
before?
they didn't have Bobby.
But
Bobby would have been like, just do a silver bullet, damn bitch.
I don't know. I love the swords though. I wish that we got more sword
fights.
No.
Oh, I was obsessed with the sword fights. I was also like really impressed with the fight choreography because like normally, especially on shows like this, you know, like the fight choreography it's usually fine, but it's a lot of like very clearly stunt fighting,
or it's just Dean and Sam, like they're just getting their ass thrown across the room, which is more realistic, to be fair.
Yeah, but I was very impressed whenever they choose like a martial weapon to fight with. I thought that was a very cool little touch.
John Winchester in his fucking samurai sword era, that was crazy. That was nuts.
I made a prediction at the beginning of the show. I was like, John Winchester, he's gonna go through a baby girlification, and I was correct, and I contributed because you can't not with Drake Rodger.
We said that exact same thing. I think it was a point of interest in one of our episodes, like right before the Winchesters came out. We were like, they're baby girlifying him. And I'll be damned if it's not working.
Here's the thing. At first I was like, John Winchester, he is one of my top 10 hated characters in fan fiction. In fiction. And so I was like, you cannot baby girlify him. Like, I'll watch the Clone Wars and I'll be like, yeah, Anakin was pretty, he was slay sometimes back in the day. John Winchester, if I see you in the fucking street, I'm beating your ass. However, now that I know this is alternate universe John Winchester, where he finds out, oh, my daddy left me for a reason, and like I'm gonna work through the fact that I watched my friend die in front of me in Vietnam and shit like that, and be like, you know, and I'm friends with gay people, so I'm a little better now. And
he was a prisoner of war, which is kind of crazy that no one has ever addressed before. They're like, haha, isn't it crazy how John was a prisoner of war? I was like, okay, John McCain, okay. So
did you just John McCainify John Winchester? Okay, alternate universe Winchester's John Winchester. I'm so sorry an ugly ass bitch would do that to you. Original Supernatural John Winchester, you deserve that.
Yeah. The best thing Jeffrey Dean Morgan John Winchester did was sacrifice himself so Dean could live.
I think that's really a testament to Drake Rodger and his acting, though, to make so many, because like I went into the show and I was like, I am president of the John Winchester hate club. Like, I do not know how they're gonna like make us care for him. And by like the 3rd episode, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I care about him a little bit for right now, but like check back again in 10 years or whatever. But just like a testament to his acting, and I guess just like the storytelling overall, to take such a universally hated character and make him lovable.
Well, also we kept bringing up, like, we're like, wow, Drake Rodger, he is serving like first couple of seasons Sam Winchester. He's getting it down. I don't know if they just like got another white guy who acts like him, or if he really was like putting in the work. But like, well, he did say he was like, I watched every season of Supernatural. Like he's like one of us.
Do you think he's read Destiel fan fiction, and why is the answer yes?
Look at him.
Drake Rodger read Twist and Shout. This is what I have to know.
I haven't.
Wow. I haven't
either. I just and here's the thing. I said on TikTok where I was like, oh, are we talking about Dean Winchester going back in time to close to the Vietnam War? Twist and Shout canon, not clickbait?
Can we not talk about Twist and Shout? I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. I have a friend who does have a physical copy of Twist and Shout though, which is
For the listeners at home, would someone like to explain what Twist and Shout is?
I will. If you go to AO3 and you go to the Supernatural 2005 TV show part of fandoms, and you go to the ship Dean and Castiel, and you sort by bookmarks or hits or kudos, the number one fanfic to pop up is going to be one titled Twist and Shout. And it is a Vietnam War AU that is it's tagged major character death, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything there. But then again, I haven't read it. I just know about it because it's one of those that like you get via osmosis, or it's just like such a big part of like the cultural zeitgeist of the supernatural fandom that like you hear the line, spoiler alert, Cass died on a Thursday. You know what?
And he did.
Dang, that's one of those. It's one of those ones that like
canonically. It's fine.
Oh no. That was their subtle shout out to Twist and Shout. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that that's the day the show normally airs.
I remember when November 5th, 2020 happened, and half the posts were like, girl, what the fuck is happening? And the other half of the posts were, Cass died on a Thursday. He went to Super Hell on a Thursday.
Anyway, that's Twist and Shout.
Wow. But I agree. I think Drake Rodger, we're talking about Drake Rodger. I think he is just a very good actor. Like, you can tell that he gets it. And that's something I will say about all of the actors on this show, is that they understand the kind of show they're in. And they understand what they are actually trying to get across. And again, I think this speaks more to the fact that this show knew their audience really well. So when they pandered, it was to the right people. Like,
which
they didn't have this sort of
often. My God.
Yeah, I think especially with Supernatural, it had this kind of identity crisis where it constantly wanted to be for like, we're like kind of a gritty show for dudes and for, that like, 18 to 25 kind of demographic, whatever. Like, then they were like, okay, the only people watching our show are like gay teenagers. What do? Maybe let's just keep trying to appeal to this older audience. And then they were like, well, we have to throw something and it just kind of gave it a bit of an identity crisis, especially as the show finished what was its perceived like initial sort of 5-season Eric Kripke era of like planned out story. Like, once it passed that, it was like, what are we? Who are we appealing to? What is our audience? The Winchesters, I know it's only one season, so it's hard to say, but it doesn't seem to have that problem as much.
But it is almost because, like, not to get into the weeds of, and we've talked about this a little bit before, of, like, the history of the CW or, like, television or whatever, but, like, when we say, like, the Winchesters, Supernatural walked so that, like, Riverdale could run, I do mean that also literally, because, like, the like, Supernatural was there for, like, a huge transition in, like, programming and whatever, and they thought, we're like, oh, we're a cable network and we're just gonna have like this all-American kind of TV show, and like Supernatural existed and was a holdover into the period where the CW was mostly like teen shows, even teen superhero shows, your Riverdale, your Vampire Diaries, your whatever, like and like so Supernatural sitting in the middle of those was like the thing that enabled like all the other shows. I'm like, you don't have the Vampire Diaries, you don't have Riverdale, you don't have Reign, you don't have all these other things if you don't have when Supernatural didn't know what the fuck it was doing. Which is why watching the Winchesters was almost like being like taken aback. You're like, wait, it knows what it's doing. Hold on, wait, what? Huh? What's going on? This is crazy. It's kind of like how the Supernatural felt in like the first half of its final season, before it took a turn. But it was like, oh, maybe you get it. Shit. Okay. Oh no, never mind. But yeah, it was a very odd feeling. It was like, is it fan service? Well, I'm the fan being serviced, so I don't care.
I think that's how I felt in the last like 10 minutes of this season finale as well. Like, seeing, first of all, 4 women on International Women's Day in the Impala. That was the moment. That was so fucking real. Mary Winchester driving the Impala. I was like, oh, whatever, I'm not really gonna get too emotional. I'm not someone who really gets I don't cry a whole lot during TV. The most I probably cried during like television, like while watching television, was again when I was in my hashtag unmedicated era when I was watching Supernatural the first time as like a teenager. But seeing Mary drive the Impala, that got me a little bit. I was a little misty, not gonna lie. But I was like, I'm being serviced right now. I am the fan who's being serviced. And then when it's like every single person like having like I knew I was so excited when Bobby showed up. Bobby's one of my favorite characters. But then I was like, oh my gosh, haha. And then Jack also being there, I was like, I am the fan who's being serviced right now, guys.
It was, and I mean, and it did encapsulate the experience of Supernatural, which is, holy shit, I'm having a great time. I'm crying. I'm also confused. But wait, where is Destiel? You went through all of those emotions, one of them being, but wait, where is Destiel? And like, we had just watched the season 2 finale for this show. And so when he goes, oh, I have to give you something, I literally jumped out my seat and I yelled, oh my God, is he going to give her the Colt? And then he gave her the Colt and I was like, holy shit. This was my Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian. Like, it was crazy. And I was but I was like, I'm confused, whatever. And I was also like, it's also just a very interesting picture into like Jesen Ackles' mind of how he sees Dean. Because it was like, this is definitely Dean in his deconstruction era, but it's not the Dean that we know who's like, yeah, I consider Destiel a part of my family. Because he was like, oh, my family's here. And I'm like, and where's Destiel? Where is he?
Which I had those thoughts too, but it was confirmed with Misha. I think Misha himself said it, or just, I don't know. There's a convention panel, somebody somewhere, something this past week said that they tried to make it happen, but with Misha filming Gotham Knights, they just couldn't get it. Like, and that was the only reason.
No. You cannot tell me that.
You guys
Gotham Knights. I did not know that.
I will be walking into DC headquarters. I will be going up to James Gunn and I will be asking him what the fuck, because
oh wow, I did not know that was the reason. I feel like a clown right now.
That was the only reason, because I mean the tweets prior from Misha saying a time traveling angel, that would be cool. Like, they
so
tried to
right?
Yeah, well, I feel in my humble opinion, like, I feel like Bobby was supposed to be a part of it always, but I feel like Bobby kind of took the place of Cass when they realized that they couldn't get Misha. But I think like literally earlier today at Crossroads 6, somebody said something about how Jesen, Daniil, and Misha were all trying to work on a project together, and Jesen said that if there was a season 2, they want Cass. Like, they want him involved somehow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, the clown shoes are on!
No, I don't know if you understand the Pandora's box that you've just opened right now for us. Because we were both like, oh, were we played? Were we stupid because we had this theory? We saw all the signs. And now I'm like, oh my God, this must be like when you believe in a conspiracy theory and then it's right. And then it's like, then you suddenly have this like insatiable urge to start believing in other things that are so clearly not true.
I feel
like
sick.
This is like a gateway.
It's like, everyone's like, where do you want the DC universe to go and whatever? And I'm like, oh, where do I want the DC universe to go? To go fuck itself, because Gotham Knights, if I see you in the fucking street.
Okay. Also, not to just be a huge bitch about Gotham Knights.
But we should.
But holy shit. No, I'm like, the cultural impact of Gotham Knights versus the cultural impact of Cass and the Winchesters? Come on, guys.
Have you seen Misha as Harvey Dent? Have you seen him in those fitted suits?
I've heard he's quite good.
I have. However, I am also a lesbian, so I'm like,
I'm a Cass girl first and foremost. However, I'm hoping for a season 2 where they can get our main man, Destiel, Supernatural on there.
Can we make it happen? I think that now needs to start. Our effort has to start now.
Absolutely.
I feel so violent, but you have unleashed something upon me. That's because I kept being able to like, yeah, maybe in the future, and I was like, oh, maybe Jesen just didn't want to, whatever. Knowing, this makes me feel so crazy, and this is right here for our listeners at home. You have experienced another live slug reaction. You have experienced another live moment of what it means to be a Supernatural fan, because shit like this just happens. It's like, you get November 5th, but then you get like, oh, they're doing a prequel, and then you get like, oh, it was confirmed in the Spanish dub, and then you get Et tu Brute, and then you get, shit like this, and you're just like, it keeps coming, it never stops, and you can't leave, and you're like, oh no, I'm being pulled back in. I'm in my delusional era. Like,
Speaking of, did you see from JibCon, which is Justin Bella, which whatever, it's a con that happens in Rome. It just happened a couple of weeks ago, where Creation puts on all the conventions for Supernatural in the US, and they're cowards, so they don't ever let Jensen and Misha do a panel together, but JibCon does. And so during the Jin Mish panel, or it may have just been, well, for one, during the Jin Mish panel, Jensen and Misha wrote a song together. The song
yeah,
is heavily Destiel coded.
here
Freaks.
I did see.
You think that I have not been scouring that panel, like just finding all of the information on that panel that I possibly could? It's embarrassing. I'm a grown-ass adult, and I'm like, oh my god, what did they say?
I check the Tumblr fandom metrics every week because I think they're interesting and funny. And the fact that one of the top ships, I think either it was last week or the week before, was one of the top ships.
Was it Cockles?
It was Cockles. Yeah. And the fact that I knew why was because of that. That sickness. Also Danielle being like, yeah, like he's our third in our relationship, whatever. And I was like, whoa. Also, me knowing
she made that same joke again today.
And Misha is canonically in real life a swinger. So it was like, all right, I need to just.
When the show gets season 2, is there anything that we would like to see, maybe implemented a little differently or maybe expanded on? I know that I have like one thing, but I want to see if anyone else has.
Our thing is probably the same.
Our thing is probably the same. Because our thing, I know, is the fact that what I would really like to see, I would like to see more Ada. And I would like to see her getting some more storylines that aren't just her kind of like struggling. Because I feel like we have a... Yeah, and I think especially in a lot of media, and this is not a fault of the Winchesters, because it's really great that they have her there. It's hard to be like, oh my gosh, you have a Black woman in your show. It's sad that that's as like, I don't want to say revolutionary because it's not what I mean, but it's sad that that's as much of like a step as it is. But there's also this sort of trend where a Black woman will be in a show or a piece of media, and she's basically only there to struggle. And I feel like that was a lot of Ada's role this season. And she had some like really, really cool parts, and I think she's a really well-rounded character. I would just like to see a bit more of her like hanging out with the squad or getting to do something that's fulfilling for herself, and not her just being like, I need to take care of my son, or I need to take care of like the Akrita. Just like a little bit more of like introspection, a little bit more about her, and getting to have fun and getting to have a little levity.
Yeah, I'd like to see her be less motherly.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, like you said, that's it's just a trope, stereotype, whatever you want to say, a theme within media where often that's just the like Black women get pigeonholed into that role. And I think that Ada had a lot more complexity and depth to her character than a lot of previous Black women like on Supernatural. But I'd love to see more from her. I would love to see more from Carlos. More of his backstory, because we got my parents were killed by Googles, and that was like pretty much it. Like I want like lot length like backstory into Carlos, and same thing with Ada. Like how I want everybody's backstories. That's it.
I also want to know how like he met them and shit like that. Like, I mean, I said before I wanted to see Ada like I want to see her like developing in her witchcraft and stuff also, because like Supernatural got really interesting when they stopped saying witchcraft was bad, and they were like, yeah, Sam's just becoming a witch at this point. We're not going to say it, but he basically is. I was like, oh, it's getting interesting now. I was like, oh, I'd love to see that with Ada. That's interesting, because like there is this thing of like the men of letters or hunters, whatever, they end up having somebody around who is just down to clown with witchcraft, and there's always a bit of a complicated relationship in Supernatural lore with witchcraft. So like having having the witch on the team, and having a witch on the team also who is not right now like she's the person who has to handle everything for us, but being like, she's the magic user in the D&D group. Like, it should be more that than is like she's taking care. Because like right now it's like, oh well, we got Lata who's the lore person, and then we got Ada who has to do everything else, and then everybody else just goes pew pew. And it's like, no, I want them to be arranged like a D&D group.
I think like another thing that was also interesting that I would have liked to see expanded on, and I bet if there's a season 2 they probably will. It seems like a really big decision for Ada to be like, I'm gonna give up part of my soul to save this girl who I have come to grow very close with. And I was like, oh, that's gonna be a really interesting thing to sort of deepen her character. And then they were like, actually Lata fixed it. And I'm like, Lata, girl boss, I know the two of them can do anything if they put their mind to it, but I was like, I'm assuming that is, as she said, not like a 100% fix. So I am looking forward to seeing some of that expanded on. But I just thought it was interesting how she was like, I have this big decision. And then they were like, we fixed it.
They were very much like,
But
yeah,
no.
we know we may not be getting a season 2, so let's hustle it. Let's hustle this one along. And you're like, God damn it.
But they did leave enough opening that just in the event when they do get season 2, they'll be able to elaborate on it, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I think more backstory for all of the characters is something I would really like to see. I would also like to see them do a bit more like procedural stuff like they did in the early seasons of Supernatural, because I feel like every episode of the Winchesters was very much like
intentional.
How do we stop? Yeah, it was like, how do we stop the Akrita? How does this play into what's going on with the Akrita? Like the episode that reminded me most of early Supernatural was the one with like the clown episode.
Oh yeah,
which I can't remember what the name of. Where it was like they have a monster they have to go stop and they have to gather the lore.
I love Monster of the Week.
Exactly. I want more Monster of the Week stuff. And I think that this cast is perfect for it because you have these natural duos, so you can split these characters up and say like, okay, 2 of you are going to do this, 2 of you are going to do this. And then you can build on those relationships. And then, if they're really bringing someone like Ada or even like Millie a little bit more into the fold, you have so many relationships that you can play on doing that kind of thing. So I would like to see that.
I was going to say, I do appreciate the amount of strong women and the fact that, like I said, none of them died.
Yeah.
And at no point was I afraid that any of them were going to die.
I feel like whoever worked on this show was like, listen, we know this is an issue. We know this is a problem.
No women in fridges for us.
And if we get a season 2, it better fucking stay that way. That's all I'm saying.
Jesen Ackles, I am in your walls. /Shay, but also /SRS.
You know what? I think this is because Jesen Ackles, we know, loved the character of Charlie, and then they were like, yeah, fuck Charlie. She's gonna die in the worst way possible. And he was like, you know what? Women. And we all went, yeah!
No, sometimes I think about how he must have reacted to finding out what happened to Charlie, like reading the script. And I'm like, it must have been a dark day for the person who delivered that to him.
It had to have been like, have you ever watched the video of the Game of Thrones cast reading the script for the final episode?
Yes, I have a Game of Thrones tattoo. Yes. You know how poorly that aged for me?
Oh shit. What is it of? That's so important.
Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Okay, but here's the problem. That is kind of slay. Like that, I think that was like a very powerful line, and in context, slay.
I also have multiple Supernatural tattoos, so
slay.
Which is slay. I think it's Cringe is dead. And that's also not Cringe, even if Cringe was alive.
I love having Destiel tattooed on me, and I love having the mixtape handoff tattooed on my body forever.
Oh.
I'm obsessed with that.
It's like Cringe is definitely dead, because I remember when we started this show and we started watching Supernatural again, both of us briefly went back into our Destiel eras, and we were just reading Destiel fanfiction, and I was like, oh, it's gotten dark.
No, I was like, the moment that I unironically was like, I need to read a fanfiction about this, I was like, oh, I've re-entered a phase. And I haven't left. And I've been here.
Do you want any fic racks? Because I have them.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding? I need them.
The thing that I have now been doing is I get into a new thing and I go, fuck, it's just like Destiel. Shit.
Yeah. No, the amount of things I've been like No, I swear my partner is like so tired of me because we'll be watching something and I'm like, this kind of exact same thing. I feel like on Tumblr when it was like Supernatural has a gift for that. That's how like I'm like that if that was a person and also 25 years old almost and like a member of society.
I made a playlist for a couple from an anime and I went, ooh, Angel with Shotgun really works in here. And I went, oh, no, it's Destiel.
I have a playlist on Spotify that's called It's Projecting on a Dean Winchester Hours. Ooh. It's what I play whenever I'm writing fanfic, and it was the soundtrack for most of my poetry book, which the whole reason I wrote a poetry collection is one, because of season 4, episode 1, Lazarus Rising, and 2, I read critically acclaimed Destiel fanfic and This Your Living Kiss, and it's an AU where Dean Winchester is a poet, and I was like, well, maybe if he can do it, like, maybe that's something I can do. And like I said, now I'm a bestseller on Amazon, and it's because of Dean Winchester. Like, full stop. So cringe is dead.
If we ever discuss the impact of Dean Winchester on popular culture, because you just the impact on you and the things that you have made. I recently just read a Tumblr post about how apparently the term mansplaining
it's from the supernatural community.
It does come from the supernatural community,
the Omegaverse,
and the Omegaverse. Yeah. And I was like,
and Georgia flipping blue. Stacey Abrams canonically not a real person. Stacey Abrams confirmed Supernatural fan. Like, come on, guys. The impact.
Made Lazarus Rising, and that made Georgia flip blue. Let's think about it.
So, do we have any thoughts about the Winchesters? Good show. I was surprised by how much I liked it.
I love, like, it's the fact that they were like, they dared to go where Supernatural did not, which was acknowledging trauma and its cyclical and generational effect. The fact that, like, one of the main characters goes to therapy, the openly queer, like, explicitly stated main character, I just, like, overall, it was, like, I don't care if it was fan service, it was good, I had a good time, I laughed, I cried, I screamed, I wanted to hold John Winchester upside down by the ankle and shake him real hard until all of his trauma fell out. But you know what, 4.5 stars.
Hey, that could happen for season 2. I'm just saying, any one of the other main characters could do that.
Is that not what Gabriel did? He just kind of picked him up and shook him around?
He could do it better.
That's true. When Gabriel showed up and was like, yeah, I'm Loki, and I was like, oh, bitch, I forgot about that plot line.
that was when he was in, like, his Rumspringer.
His witness protection era.
I did also love, I think it was really nice how this show did address, like you said, like, trauma and how that, affects a person. And it really dug into a lot of things that I was not expecting this show to dig into. Like, I really, after watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this is going to be just kind of I hate to compare it to Riverdale, because Riverdale is its own art form. Just, like, Riverdale is, I think, more self-aware than people give it credit for. And I was like, I was worried that this was going to be Riverdale, but not self-aware. But, like, I was really surprised, like, even in, like, the first, like, couple episodes, how it was like, we're not going to pretend that John just got back and he's fine now. And it really emphasized how important a support system is, which I think is really cool. And also, honorable mention for the reason why this elevates my review from, like a 4 to 4.5 stars, which I agree, same rating. The scene where Carlos gets holy water in his hair and flips his hair around.
Do we a hive mind?
That incredible.
That was, like, the best scene of television. Like,
that was second only to the barn scene from Lazarus Rising.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. Of course. I'm so sorry I misspoke. Okay. But that elevates my review. 4.5 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5.
That was really a moment where they went, you know what these gay bitches want? And it was like, yeah, these gay bitches did want that.
Camp. We got it. 'Cause, like, that was, I don't, you know what? I wouldn't even call that camp. That was just good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think, and you know what? That's another thing I think about Carlos, is if it was any other actor, it would be like, is this, it would feel a little bit homophobic, honestly, if it was any other actor. But I was like, no, JoJo is putting their entire heart and soul into this character, and it shows. Like, there's someone who really gets this character and gets what, like, queer people want to see.
And that's, like, demanding to
And,
take
like
up space, and JoJo shows up and
Yeah.
takes up space in such a
Yeah.
beautiful way that, like,
Yeah.
that scene I was at a Noah Kahan concert. I, like, got a 3-day trial for YouTube
Oh, wow.
Live so I could watch it while, like that poor opener, I didn't know who they were. They were okay, I guess, but I was, like, AirPod in, standing in the crowd, just watching, like, flipping, and somebody next to me was like, "Are you watching Supernatural?" And I was like, "Yes,
Oh my
and no,
god.
it's the Winchesters, it's the prequel." And they were like, "Is it any good?" And I was like, "It's pretty good. Can I get back to my show now, please?"
POV,
Oh,
you are at a
I'm
concert and the
so
person
sad.
next to you is watching the Winchesters.
I wasn't gonna miss it. Like, I love Noah
No.
Kahan, and I also love the Winchesters, so I made them both happen.
That's
I love that. That is modern modern problems require modern solutions. That is the epitome of
absolutely.
that.
You know what? You were saying that like it's so authentically not authentically queer, whatever, but like Supernatural escaped the curse of being both gay and homophobic at that same time, and it was just gay. It was
The Winchesters,
I
not Supernatural.
yeah.
Come on.
Supernatural is notoriously
Stick with it.
homophobic.
Super
Yeah, Supernatural is gay and homophobic. It's gay in the way that it's camp, but it's homophobic in the way that it's homophobic.
It's like it's gay in the fact that it will rewrite your brain chemistry, has made so many people realize they are gay and trans, has had a incredibly large impact on the queer community online. It's homophobic in that it is homophobic. Like
And
John Winchester.
Exactly.
is John
Yeah.
Winchester, I mean, not our John Winchester, but like the bad John Winchester,
But
is he canonically homophobic?
I don't think he's canonically homophobic. I think a lot of people kind of
Headcanon?
think he is. It's like I headcanon this character to be homophobic. But no, I don't think that he has like I don't know if there's any canon instances of that. I think it's a popular interpretation.
The vibe is generally that he's just a little fucked up in the head. he's a little fucked up in the head, and he's a dad from the 70s, and so like
it's the lead poisoning that men of that age all
I was gonna say it
have.
was the absent father, probably.
yeah, or almost that like he was so absent and fucked up that like the homophobia of the culture at the time was able to permeate Dean Winchester because there was no barrier, because his father wasn't exactly helping. You know what I mean? He didn't have a role model of positive masculinity in his life, so unfortunately he had to get it from fucking porn. Like
I hate to say that I was like, Klaudia, come on. And I'm like, no, that is actually like, there's more canon evidence pointing towards that than there is towards a lot of things that we think about that man.
I fear that's the craziest thing I've ever said.
I'm
And
obsessed
I
with
hate
your
to say it
brain.
again. You're correct, is the problem, I think. The amount of which Dean Winchester talks about porn, come on, guys. There's something happening. There's
And
a
he's
connection.
always like, yeah, I really like this one type of straight porn, and you're like, do you?
Do
It's
you?
me looking at him going, I know what you are.
I know what you are. The fact that
No, I become the homophobic dog as soon as Dean Winchester enters the screen. I'm like, I know what you are.
Sam Winchester in later seasons is so homophobic dog-coded because he looks at, especially when he's looking at Dean and Destiel, he's like, okay, all right, fruit. He's like, anyway, we have something to do. Can you guys stop?
Oh, like
Flirting?
God, what was that? Season 6 with Cass's whole like, or yeah, he shows up because Dean prays to him, and Sam is like, "What do you mean? Hello, I've been calling for you for forever, and now you decide to show up." And Sam says like, "What, you like Dean better?" And then Cass goes, "Well, Dean and I do share a more profound bond. I wasn't going to mention it."
The more profound bond.
That quote. Oh wow, that quote had the fandom in a fucking
It still does. I want that as a tramp stamp, actually. Could you imagine?
Bond?
I could probably work that into my wedding vows if I do it fast enough.
Speaking of supernatural quotes, I don't know. You said that you'd ordered the poetry book. I want you to see if you can find the supernatural quotes in there, because there are. Because
I'll know.
I will be going through with a highlighter.
Like, I know what you are.
I will be taking notes. I will be annotating. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add about vis-a-vis the Winchesters or anything else?
I love them all. Drake Rodger quote tweeted me Tuesday night when I was screaming, so that was really good for me. It was just I posted my reaction to I think Dean showing up, me screeching literally. He quote tweeted, said it was great. JoJo liked the party that we threw for the cast, complete with a cake in heat of the moment. Every member of that cast has interacted with me in some capacity or another, which I think is so special because it's like they really, really care about their fans. And like if you are active online in that fandom, they recognize you. And like it's not just me;
Yeah.
it's like other people I know have been recognized like at cons and stuff by the
This is
cast.
this is
So
terrifying to me. This
I
is
oh
this
God,
is
I love them
terrifying.
so much. Oh, they're so cute.
No. Yeah, they seem like what's really nice too is they do seem like a very well-rounded cast. Like they seem like again, not only do they get their characters like about the show as a whole, but also the cast, like they understand who their fans are and they like care enough to be active and not to like an upsetting degree. Like they're not getting into fandom beef
They're
like
not coming
some
out as
actors I know.
as bisexual and then going back into the closet like
Shut
Misha
up.
Collins.
Listen,
Don't do that.
I love straight gate as much as the next person. But that happened nearly a year ago because next month it'll be a year ago. And it's
The
like,
fact that you know the exact date.
well, I do because 3 days later, I accidentally start the Misha apocalypse and he was staying
Oh yeah.
offline, understandably. And so I was like, this man is never going to
Mhm.
notice. And then he texts my friend Zara, and then he texts me, and then it snowballed from there.
That was
So
crazy. Actually, would you like to tell our listeners that story? Because that shit is crazy.
all right, let me see if I gotten it down to a science of like an abbreviated version. So Misha Collins used to hold this scavenger hunt called Gishwez, which is short for the greatest international scavenger hunt the world has ever seen. I signed up for it in 2014 when I was in high school. I signed up like on an extra level, so it's like I got some extra stuff at the end. One of those things was a signed holiday card from Misha Collins himself. I held on to that from 2014 until April of last year. April of last year, I was looking at it and I was like, golly gee, I've had this for so long. His signature has faded off. And I'm silly and sentimental, and it made me sad. And so I made a video where I was like, isn't it silly and sad that I'm upset that this signature has faded because I'm sentimental and this is symbolic of, me aging or whatever? Um, and so I should have known what would happen because what happened was people started tagging him by the thousands. I'm talking, I stopped counting after 3,000. That man got tagged in every single one of my videos. People were texting his community line, being like, you need to get her a new card. Like, Berklie deserves it. Like, you should really get her a new card. My friend and fellow TikTok user, Zara, received a text back from him where she had been like, hey, Berklie user IcarusPendragon needs a new signed holiday card. And he responded with, well, she needs to look at her comments more often. And I was like, brother, my phone's always in my hand. I am always looking at my comments. And so a huge scavenger hunt commenced looking for this comment that he supposedly left. I eventually texted him and I was like, hey, brother, it's been a couple of days and I can't find it. What's up with that? And he said, hey, Berklie, you find my comment yet? And I was like, absolutely, I have not. You would know when I did. And so we do this little back and forth for a little while where it's like every once in a while he'll text me back and be like, you find it? And I'm like, Misha, I think you would know if I did. My brother dies
This is
somewhere in between
surreal.
there. Yeah.
My text back and forth with Misha Collins.
Yeah, so like I said, and this is like the not fun part of the story, but my brother dies on my birthday, like less than a month after that happened, and so he shoots me a very nice, like, hey, sorry about that text. And then later that day, he is like, oh, by the way, happy birthday. Turns out TikTok hid my comment. That's unacceptable, so I'm gonna leave it again. And I was like, I've had such an emotional roller coaster of a day. Um, and so anyway, so like we restart the scavenger hunt. Still cannot find this comment. And one of the things that happens when people want to help you but they don't know how because you're like a stranger and distant is they send you money. And so I got sent a whole bunch of what I lovingly refer to as dead brother pity money. And so, because I still hadn't been able to find the comment, I took some of that money and impulse bought tickets to a convention in Orlando, Florida, which is 12 hours away from me. And it was less than 3 weeks away. And I was like, I'm just going to ask him about it in person. And so then I did the meet and greet with him, had a shirt made that said Misha Collins' one and only arch nemesis. We do this meet and greet. Like, we go out to, it was the adventure too, which meant it was 10 people, 45 minutes, and we left the convention, and he just took us somewhere. And so we're sitting at lunch, and he's just chit-chatting about something, and I'm laying in wait because I'd had an overshirt on. It was like buttoned, so I could do a dramatic reveal because commit to the bit, right?
Okay,
I'm obsessed with this.
And so he's winding down what he's talking about, and he's like, any questions? And I was slowly and as uncreepily as possible unbuttoning my shirt so that I could like do the like reveal. And so he goes, yeah, any questions? And look straight at me, and I am like on my knees, like hands on table, leaning over him, and like, I think you know exactly what I'm gonna ask you. And he was like mid pulling out his phone to show me the screenshots. Poor baby doesn't know how technology works, and he commented his community phone number for me to text about getting a new card, and TikTok blocked it for my own protection. They were protecting me from Misha Collins.
POV, TikTok blocked me from texting Misha Collins, not clickbait.
That's so wow. So,
57 days and a impulse trip to a convention to figure out that TikTok just ate it. And he was not gently gaslighting me like I thought he was.
Misha Collins gaslit me. Or not. Not clickbait.
Not clickbait. Yeah, so that was a
real emotional.
Yeah, that was a wacky time in my life. And I've been to 3 other conventions since then because they're just fun. And every time I see him, I'm like, hello,
conventions
nemesis.
are so fun.
I'm obsessed with that.
That's why I dedicated my book to him.
Oh my god.
Which he did see on Saturday. I wasn't expecting him to read it when I handed it to him to sign, but I guess he saw his name. So he cracked it open, leaned back, and started reading. And then he called me a sociopath. Oh, wow. Mainly because I asked him about the sequels, but
I'm obsessed with that. I think you know what? I wish I was bold enough to have a nemesis on the Supernatural cast.
Mine is Jared Padalecki.
Derogatory.
Yeah, I think that about does it for us. I think we are ready to wrap up.
Unless you have any other insane stories about cast members of Supernatural and or your opinions on the Winchesters.
Yeah, happy to hear anything.
No, not yet, but check back next month. I have another con. I'm going to New Jersey.
So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. This was so much fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do something else like this again in the future at some point. You can follow Berklie at IcarusPendragon all over the internet, and also make sure to check out their book, Lazarus Rises, amongst other things. I'm very excited to read it. We're going to link that in our show notes. For Supernatural content and Winchester's content, you can follow us at Mystery Spotcast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Tumblr. You can also ask us questions in our TikTok Q&A, our Tumblr Ask Box, or by emailing us at themysteryspotcast@gmail.com. If you enjoyed listening to us suffer, please rate and review the show. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, Overcast. It really helps people discover our show. If you want to hear more from us, we are 2 of the co-hosts of RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. And without further ado, we will see you 2 Tuesdays from now for more slaying people, queer baiting things, the supernatural business.